The Exodus, a journey through fire and faith. In the land of ancient Egypt, beneath the mighty pyramids and alongside the life-giving Nile, lived a people in chains. The Hebrews, once welcomed as guests in the days of Joseph, had become slaves, brickmakers, laborers, servants to a kingdom that had forgotten their name, but feared their numbers. As the centuries passed, their cries rose up like incense to the heavens, a song of sorrow carried on the wind. And in the courts of Pharaoh, a cruel decision was made. Every newborn Hebrew boy was to be cast into the Nile, a sacrifice to fear and control. Hope seemed to die in silence. But one woman, Jochebed, defied the decree. She hid her infant son for 3 months, heart pounding with every knock at the door. And when she could hide him no longer, she wove a basket of reeds, sealed it with pitch, and placed her baby among the river's reeds, trusting the currents of water and destiny alike. That river, so often a place of death, became instead a cradle of salvation. Pharaoh's daughter, drawn by a baby's cry, found the child. She named him Moses, drawn from the water, and raised him as a prince of Egypt, while his true heritage pulsed quietly in his blood. Moses grew in luxury, trained in the arts of statecraft and war, his feet walking palace floors even as his soul stirred uneasily. He saw his people, his blood bowed and beaten, and one day his conscience exploded into action. Seeing an Egyptian overseer strike a Hebrew slave, Moses intervened and killed. The next day, his secret became known. Betrayed, he fled into the wilderness, away from empire and into exile. In the barren lands of Midian, Moses became a shepherd, husband, and father. He traded gold and silk for sand and silence, and for 40 years, the desert became his home. But destiny does not forget, and calling cannot be outrun. One day, on the slopes of Mount Horeb, Moses saw a strange sight, a bush aflame, yet unconsumed. As he approached, a voice called out, "Moses, Moses." He replied, trembling, "Here I am." The voice spoke again, "I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cry. I have come to rescue them, and I am sending you." Moses recoiled. "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh?" But the voice answered, "I will be with you." Still, Moses resisted. "If they ask who sent me, what shall I say?" "Tell them," God thundered, "I am that I am." With only a staff in his hand and fear in his heart, Moses returned to Egypt. Before the throne of Pharaoh, he stood not as a prince, but as a prophet. "Let my people go," he said. But Pharaoh laughed. "Who is this God that I should obey him?" And so began the battle of wills, a duel not of swords but of signs. First, the Nile turned to blood, fish died, and the river stank. Then came frogs, swarming through houses and beds. Gnats rose from dust, flies filled the air, livestock died, boils erupted on skin, hail fell like fire from the sky, locusts devoured what remained, and darkness blanketed the land for 3 days. Each time, Pharaoh's heart grew harder. Then came the final plague. At midnight, the firstborn of Egypt would die, except those who obeyed God's command. Every Hebrew family was to slaughter a lamb, mark their doorposts with its blood, and eat the lamb with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, ready to flee at a moment's notice. That night, death passed through Egypt. Cries of grief erupted across the kingdom. In Pharaoh's palace, his own son lay still. "Go!" Pharaoh wept. "Take your people and leave Egypt." The Hebrews departed in haste, carrying with them the bones of Joseph, the treasures of Egypt, and the first breath of freedom. Over 600,000 men, women, and children walked out of bondage and into the unknown. But Pharaoh's rage returned. He gathered his chariots and pursued them. The Hebrews reached the shores of the Red Sea, trapped between water and war. Panic rose. "Have you brought us out here to die?" They cried to Moses. But Moses raised a staff, and the sea split. A wall of water rose on each side, and a dry path opened to the deep. The people crossed safely. When Pharaoh's army followed, the sea returned. The waters crashed down, and the might of Egypt was buried beneath the waves. On the other side, the Hebrews sang, "I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. horse, and rider he has hurled into the sea. But freedom was only the beginning. In the wilderness, the people faced thirst and hunger, fear and rebellion. Yet God provided water from rock, manna like dew, quail in the evening. At Mount Sinai, thunder and flame wrapped the mountain. Moses climbed into cloud, and there he received the 10 Commandments, laws not carved by hand, but by the finger of God. Yet even then, the people faltered. In Moses' absence, they built a golden calf and bowed to it. When Moses descended and saw their sin, he shattered the tablets in fury. Still, God was merciful. He gave Moses new tablets, renewed his covenant, and continued to lead his people. For 40 years, they wandered, a generation shaped by desert independence, through victories and rebellions, through fire by night and cloud by day. God remained with them. Moses, now aged and worn, climbed Mount Nebo. From its peak, he looked across the Jordan River and saw the land promised to Abraham. There, God showed him all that his people would inherit. And there, Moses died. He was 120 years old. His eyes were undimmed, his strength unbroken. God himself buried him, and no one knows his grave to this day. His people would cross into Canaan without him, led by Joshua. But they carried with them more than laws or tents or memories. They carried a story of a man who spoke with God as a friend, a story of a people who walked through fire and sea, a story of deliverance. And that story lives on. Wherever people cry for freedom, wherever the oppressed dream of the promised land, the tale of Moses echoes. That no Pharaoh can chain a soul forever, that no sea is too wide when faith parts the way, and that one man, with trembling hands and a burning heart, can change the course of history.